Hey everybody, it's Brooke from the Buttered Home. Welcome to Messy Kitchen Monday. We have a special guest tonight, my good friend James Tucker from Old Magnolia Honey. And James, how long have you been keeping bees?
Going on about 8 years.
8 years? What made you decide to start doing that?
Well, my daddy was in it in the early 90s, and here about 8 years ago, I just had this itch about want to get bees. So he had the equipment, and I got my first hive, and it just sort of went from there. And I enjoy keeping them. It gives me, it's a stress reliever. It really is.
I've heard other people say that too, that keeping bees is actually very good for your mental stability and your blood pressure and things like that.
Right,
and as we get older, I mean, those things are very important. And you know, not only that, the honey that's produced too is also good for you too. It has a lot of benefits, and James is going to talk later about that too, about some of the health benefits of honey. But so how many hives do you have?
Right now, I think I have about 16. I gain a few in the spring and summer, but during the winter and sometime during the summer, I'll lose a few. Bees have a lot going against them. I don't know if it's spraying, or you got mites, you got varroa mites and small hive beetles, all imported. That wasn't here years and years ago, which they got a lot going against them. And I don't use any kind of chemicals in my bees. I keep it natural.
Right, so your honey is pure, raw, and organic. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I use it in a lot of my cooking. And tonight we're going to be making a recipe that I featured a couple of weeks ago for a Pear Tarte. As you all know, at the Buttered Home, I really pride myself on trying to teach you that scratch made is not only better, but it's just as easy, and goodness knows it's really cheaper too, because I had a conversation today with a girl at work that, you know, if you were to go out and buy a pre-prepared pie crust, you'd probably spend $3 or more. Well, you can make this pie crust for pennies on the dollar for that, and you know what goes in it. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and get to that, because I want James to talk some more, because I'm fascinated by the honey business and the beekeeping business. Back earlier this year, we had a hive that showed up in a willow tree out here, and James actually came and removed that, and hopefully later, with his permission, we took a video of that, and maybe I'll share it with you guys, because it's pretty fascinating to see him move that hive. Anyhow, we're going to come over here. Oh, before I forget, thank you. My cameraman is mouthing what I have forgotten to me, so if I look kind of weird, that's why. James has been so kind tonight. Did you say this is a pound, right? To bring a pound of his honey. Now, in order for you to win this, because I told you we might get crazy and give something away, so we're going to be crazy and sweet and give you a pound of honey. If you're here during the live, only during the live, now that means if you watch it after it ends, you're not eligible for the drawing. Give us a wave or make a comment and let us know you're here to be entered into a drawing for this pound of Old Magnolia Honey. And I promise you, if you haven't had it, once you have it, you won't want any other. There is something about it. It's very distinct. It's very light. It's very fresh. And you know, those are words, adjectives that are not normally used with honey. But it is. It has just a flavor and taste all of its own. And I love it in cooking because it doesn't crystallize. Because of the process that it does not go through, it just is what it is, and it turns into this silky liquid, and you'll see that happen tonight. So be sure, give us a wave, drop your name in the comments to be eligible for the drawing for a pound of Old Magnolia Honey. Thank you, Tana. I get nervous. Y'all know I get nervous. All right, we're going to come over here. Now, what I have in here, and my lighting is not great, so you'll have to forgive me. It's hard to move the light everywhere, but for the pie crust, I have 1.5 cups of plain flour, and I'm going to put in 1.5 cups, or a stick and a half, which ends up being 3/4 of a cup of cold cubed butter. And I also have a pinch of salt. Now, this is a make ahead process. So what you want to do, if you need a pie crust tomorrow, then you need to do this at least today or an hour or two ahead in advance, because it has to chill for at least an hour. So we're going to blend this up. And make a mess in the messy kitchen, as usual. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer, or you can use a pastry cutter, or 2 knives or a fork, just like I showed you with the biscuits. But this is really the best method. So this or a hand mixer are the best. So we're going to speed it up just a little bit. It's making a mess too. Tanner's about to choke. Okay, so you get the idea. You'll see if Tanner will peek over in here. It has a really mealy texture. So the butter has broken up and it has, you know, kind of absorbed into the flour, and it's turning into its own little thing. So once you see it get that mealy kind of coarse texture, then you're going to turn it on low, and you're going to put in 1/3 of a cup, drizzle in 1/3 of a cup of cold water. So we drizzle that in, and we just stir it until it's just combined and it starts pulling away from the sides. And if it gets on your paddle, well, that's okay too. So you really just want to just bring it together. You know, the best rule of thumb is don't overmix anything. The less you work something, the better it'll be. And pie crust, tart crust, anything like that, you know, you want to be careful and don't overmix it. You sure don't want to overmix your biscuits either. So then at this point, we just take it and we flour our surface. And we take it out of the pan. I'm going to set that over there. And we just flour it a little bit, flour our hands. Oh, I don't need that yet. And then just like with the biscuits, you're just going to put it into a little mound. And then I like to just kind of flatten mine out and form it in a nice little disc once it stays together. And then I just turn it over and tap it because I don't want too much flour on it. Dust it off. Nice little disc. And then I take plastic wrap, if I can get my hands on it. And I'll just take the plastic wrap and wrap it up just like it is in the nice little disc that it is, and then we put it in the refrigerator. So I have one chilled already, and you want to chill that for at least an hour. Overnight is better, but if you do it overnight, you might want to take it out of the fridge about 5 minutes before you roll it out, just to let it come up in temperature just as a little bit, because it helps it roll a little easier. But you don't want to leave it out too long. So now I'm going to flour my surface, then flour my pen, and I'm getting flour everywhere, just so y'all know.
I think I got some in my eye.
I tell you what, if you didn't get it in your eyes from the cloud from the mixer, then you're doing good, because it went everywhere when I turned it up, kicked it up high that first time. So you'll see it kind of wants to come apart. And you know, it's just like with your biscuits, you can just work it back in a little bit. And this is a tart. And a tart, in my mind, is a little more rustic, so it doesn't have to be perfect. If it's not round, you know what? You can cut it and make it round. Just make it big enough that you can trim it It really does not matter. You know, if you're cooking for your family and you test this recipe, they're not going to care what it looks like. They're just going to care if it's good. And I tell you what, if you follow this recipe, it's good. So trust me on that. You can hone your skills on a pie crust the more you make them. That's the thing about cooking. And I'm a perfectionist, so I can tell you this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Test this stuff out on your family and, you know, go from there. So now what I do, and this is a little unconventional, so this is my tip for you. I have a springform pan that's traditionally used for cheesecakes or things of that nature. Well, cheesecake, that's like grilling. I haven't mastered that. So I bought that, not really using it. And when I started making this tart, I said, well, I'm going to use it in my springform pan. So I just take the bottom out, and then I roll this crust up on my rolling pin and lift it, and then just roll it over my pan. Now you might have to work it a little bit, and you know, if it tears or whatever, that's what you have that excess for. So now I've kind of got it all patted out, and I'm just going to cut a little bit of it off. And save this, don't throw it out, because if you got to patch it, that's what you're going to patch it with. So now I just pick up that bottom base, and I take this side that's got the lowest amount and drop it in. And then I fasten it to tighten it, and it doesn't look very good, but it's fixing to look good. So you just want to take this, and I use my two pointer fingers, and I punch down and press to the side. Punch down and press to the side. And you can do this on pies too. This is a little cheat. And there you go again. Punch down and press to the side. Don't worry about if you knock holes in it, because we're going to fix those in a minute. And it's going to be thicker on some sides than others, but we're going to fix that in a minute too. Like I said, everybody wants pretty food. Everybody like me, who's a girl and likes to take pictures of their food, wants their food to be pretty, but you'll get there. You might not get there to begin with, but that's okay, as long as it tastes good. All right, so you see I got a low spot side. It ain't perfect. So I took a piece of this and I patch it in, just like that. And folks, you can do that with a pie crust too. Well, a homemade pie crust. You can't necessarily do that with a store-bought pie crust, but. And then I'm taking those little holes and just kind of pressing those out. There we go. So there's some left, and I will actually freeze this and keep it for other things. You know, you can make little cookies out of this. There are all kind of things you can do. If you buy those pre-made pie crust and you want to do mini pies for like a pecan pie or whatever, these are good to roll out and make you a little lattice on the top. So you can keep this and actually freeze it if you don't use it all. So that's a good tip. Oh, just to remind everybody, if you're just joining us, we are here with James Tucker from Old Magnolia Honey, and he has been kind enough to donate a pound of Old Magnolia Honey. Now, if you want to be eligible to be in the drawing for that, all you have to do is drop your name in the comments during the live. It won't be eligible after it's over. So this usually runs about 20 to 30 minutes. So make sure you get your name or a wave or something in the comments before we end. All right, next, to prepare your dough, I've got about a tablespoon of flour mixed with a tablespoon of sugar. So we're going to take this and just sprinkle that over the top. This creates a little base for your fruit. Now tonight we're using pears because Mama likes pears. So I'm going to get my pears out of the refrigerator.
But you can also use
Yes, you can
Peaches.
use peaches. You can use apples. Yes, any fruit you can think of. And now I recommend that you use fresh. And the reason why is because this is going to cook for about an hour. So you want, if you were to use like a prepackaged peach pie filling or apple pie filling, you're liable to get some sugars that burn because a lot of times it's sitting in syrup. So if you're going to do this, I recommend using fresh fruit, whatever it is that you're using. And James, I'm going to get you to... So I like these Bosch pears. I'm going to grab one and just show it. These are Bosch pears. They're kind of brown, but they cook really, really well. They can withstand higher heat for longer periods of time. So if you're looking for a pear to cook with, these Bosch, is spelled B-O-S-C, pears are really the best. And they have a better texture too after they're cooked, so they don't just kind of disintegrate. You still have a little bit of bite to them after they're cooked all the way through. So that's what we're using tonight, is those Bosch pears. And I just cored them and just sliced them. And this doesn't have to be perfect either, y'all. I like to try my best to do a little sunburst decoration on them, but it doesn't always happen. You could go around, and you know, a lot of times, you know, if you want to make it pretty, you can, but I just try to fill up the space as best I can with the pears. And I try to get pieces all about the same size in there first. I said try because there's one that's small. There's a little guy. So, and then that way you can come in the middle with the smaller pieces and kind of dot them in. And then the tinier pieces you can go back and fill in your gaps. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. What it does have to be is it does have to be tasty. So these are the tips that I give you. You can try for pretty and shoot for pretty, but if it's the first time you're making it, don't get hung up on pretty. Get hung up on good. So there we go. We've got that little guy. He's ready for the oven. So at this point, one of the things I like to do is take just a little bit of honey and just drizzle it over the top. And don't worry, it's gonna get more honey. So we just take it, just drizzle it. Now if you don't have any honey yet, after you talk to James and go to his Facebook page and order some honey from him, but if you want to make the tart before then, you can sprinkle it with just a little sugar. So then we take it and we put it into a 375-degree oven. And it's going to need to cook for about an hour. But after 40 minutes, you're going to take it out and you're going to glaze it. And I'm going to go ahead, because of course we don't have time to wait 40 minutes on it to cook, and show you what the glaze is made up of. So now this is going to seem odd because I'm using orange marmalade. You will not taste any orange in it. The orange marmalade is just good because it adds a little tang, and that's good with the honey. I love orange marmalade and honey on toast, and that flavor combination to me is like one of my favorites. I don't know about you, James. I don't know what you like with honey. You might just like honey.
I like honey all kind of ways.
But we put in about 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then about 2 tablespoons of orange marmalade.
What would you use if you didn't have the orange marmalade?
If you didn't have orange marmalade, you could certainly use just like a strawberry jelly or a strawberry jam. You could actually use fig preserves. Fig preserves are good. It just adds a little more texture, and it adds just a hint of sweetness, but a different kind of sweetness, so that you'd actually taste the layers of the honey and the fruit possibly 2 different kinds of fruit. So if not, you can just leave the marmalade or the jelly out, and instead of just using 2 tablespoons of honey, you could use 4. That's a good way to do it too. So y'all know me, y'all know I eyeball.
You want muscadine jelly?
Muscadine jelly? Certainly, any kind of jelly would be really good. Now here's the trick. You're just going to want to heat this through just until it kind of loosens up. Till that white sugar dissolves and it loosens up. So after you have cooked your tart for 40 minutes at 375 degrees, you're gonna have this ready. And then what we do is we take the tart out and we drizzle this over the top and we return it to the oven for 15 to 20 more minutes. Typical cook time for my oven is an hour. So about 3/4 of the way through, you want to take it out and glaze it with this glaze. All right, now I want you just to see how loose that is. And that is about the consistency that you want. You don't bring it to a boil because you don't want a chance burning it. So you just want to heat it through until you can feel that there's no granulation left of the sugar, until it loosens up enough to drizzle over the top of that tart. And in Magic TV Land, we have it already made for you. And look how pretty. I want you, Tanner, I want you to kind of really get in there and look at it. And you'll notice that the glaze actually kind of put a shine and a sheen on top of there. And you just have all these really nice flaky layers in there. And I'm about to cut James a piece. You want a piece?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me grab you and get a knife.
I thought you never asked.
And y'all, my cutting skills are not great, so. Do you want ice cream or not?
It doesn't matter either way.
All right. So look, Tanner, I want you to focus in on those pretty pie layers in there. It's done all the way through, and it's cooked slow. Even though it's cooked at a higher temperature, it's cooked rather slow so that that fruit can have, you know, a good little bite to it. All right, now James, in order for you to get to eat this, you got to talk some. So,
Okay, I'll do that.
Tell us about the benefits of honey, or just talk. Tell us what you think everybody ought to know about honey.
There's a difference between raw and you'll see some honey labeled as raw and some honey is labeled as pure. Mm-hmm. A lot of these store-bought honeys it's been heated, been pasteurized.
Right.
Which doing that it kills a lot of the enzymes and minerals and pollen that's in honey. Mm-hmm. My honey, only thing I do when I extract it, I run it through a strainer which catches any kind of wax cappings. Mm-hmm. And after that, it goes into a holding container, and I bottle it. It's straight from the hive to the jar. Mm-hmm. It's never been heated, never been filtered. Only it's just gravity strained to remove the wax cappings. And a lot of people ask about why honey crystallizes. Well, that's from the nectar source.
Is it really?
Yes. Spring honey is not as bad about it. All honey would do it after a period of time. Mm-hmm. Fall honey is real bad about crystallizing pretty fast. Mm-hmm. I had bottled some of it up, and maybe a month later it's crystallized.
Oh wow, wow!
But honey is not only used for food and eating. It's also used. I use it as a substitute for Neosporin.
Really?
Cuts.
Like an antiseptic.
Yes. Only thing is, if you got a cut, make sure you put a Band-Aid on it because honey is sticky, as you know.
It's stuck to your clothes if you didn't know it.
Some people have complained about the honey crystallizing, which you can put it in warm water and it will liquefy again. But I save a bottle. I keep in my bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I wash my face with it.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And also I say you put it on cuts or whatever. The color of honey, it's all got to do with the flower source also.
Mm-hmm. And is that why? Okay, so you have magnolia trees. Is that what their flower source is?
They don't get honey nectar from magnolia. They get pollen though.
They do.
They
okay.
love pollen from magnolia tree.
Right. Okay.
They feed that to the babies.
Oh,
Make
okay.
bee bread.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And they eat it also themselves, but magnolia is real high producer of pollen.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big magnolia tree in my yard, and that's where it
The
started
name
from.
came from?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Um,
Well, why do you hear people talk about how important it is to have local honey like during allergy season?
I have several people that swear by it, that they use it to help with their allergies. I take honey every day, which I don't have allergy, I don't reckon, but I have customers that swear by it, you know. And I have some that want the dark honey. Dark honey has more antioxidants in it.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
But
That comes from the flower source, you said,
Sure.
right? It does. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think your honey is the best honey. And I'm not telling you that. I've told you that long before we ever did anything like this.
Right.
So to me, I don't know, just the flavor of it. And like I said, I cook with it a lot. Danny went out of town this weekend. I was telling James earlier, I almost, well, first, the kids say I screamed at them because I thought they had taken the honey and put it somewhere. But they had not, and so I had to apologize for them because I probably wasn't very nice about it because, you know, honey is just one more thing of mine that's disappeared that they usually take from me. It's usually clothes and, you know, all kind of stuff. Shoes. Anyway, Tanner's backing up. Anyway, as usual, I get off subject. But my honey was missing. I had a squeeze jar just like these, and my honey was missing, and I wanted to have it here to make the tart. I made a meatloaf yesterday, and I used it in my glaze for my meatloaf. And I have some, don't get me wrong, I have some, but I wanted my squeeze bottle because that's what I reached for because we keep it with the allergy medicine and all kind of things. And it was missing. Well, come to find out, it went to Nebraska with my husband. He likes to put it in his coffee. So,
Me too.
yeah. So, you know, that's an idea too of another use, you know, that we have. So before we go, I just want to remind everybody and give them one more chance. If you have just now joined us within the last 5 minutes or so, we are giving away, James was nice enough to donate a pound of Old Magnolia Honey. And you have to be here during the live. You must be present. And give us a wave or drop your name in the comments so that we can enter you in the drawing for the pound of honey from Old Magnolia. And something else I'm going to ask you guys to do, go to his page on Facebook. It's Old Magnolia Honey. He's located in Raymer, Alabama. And give him a like. Tell him that you saw him on the Buttered Home, and follow his page because he puts a lot of really neat stuff on there about the processing of how honey is made from hive to jar, like you said.
Right.
And he also puts a lot of medicinal things on there too, post-wise about what honey is good for. So be sure you go like Old Magnolia Honey, and when we get done later, I will go in and put the link to his page in the comments as well. But give us a shout, let us know you're here, and once we get everything closed up, it won't be tonight, probably tomorrow night, we'll go live and draw for the honey, and I'll get it to you. So James, I really thank you for being here. I mean,
Thrilled to be here.
you know, you've always been one of my favorite people. We go way back. Like, I don't remember not knowing him. So his
Long time.
Yeah, his sister's one of my absolute best friends growing up and still is, and so he's picked on me for years and picked on my kids too. So, and we worked a lot of haunted hay rides together too.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely too is one of the best cooks I know. So, and he cooks like this too. He cooks scratch made. He believes that scratch made is the best made. So be sure and follow him because he's got a lot of neat stuff on his site too. And we appreciate you being here at the Buttered Home. And be sure to drop your name in the comments and you can win some honey. Honey?
Honey, honey.
Y'all have a good night, and be sure and give James some love. We sure appreciate him being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.